Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the 920 Show. We have a little bit of a, if you're watching on YouTube, you notice already a little bit of a different setup here. Unfortunately, my co-host Katie woke up not feeling too well, so we didn't want to spread that around. So we brought a friend in. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
The voice you are hearing is Jacki from Titletown. I'm not even sure what your title is there, but...
Title of everything, but manager of Titletown Residential and Programs.
Love that. I can't wait to hop into all things Titletown. As we were talking about pre-show a little bit, we've been going kind of all around the major districts of Green Bay as we lead up into summer and approach Memorial Day, and I know everyone is excited to hear about what's going on in really one of Green Bay's newest districts in Titletown. So we will hop into that and a bunch of other stuff. But before we did that, like I was mentioning, normally Katie and I will do a little bit of an intro, so Jacki's going to join us for that. I appreciate the quick curveball here, but really the only major thing, of course, my phone is going to ring right now. A little behind baseball there. Didn't silence my phone. All right, sorry about that. So I wanted to chat about the news with the U.S. World Report coming out, being the number one ranked place to live, Green Bay, Wisconsin. What is your initial reaction to that, Jacki?
Crazy.
Right?
So crazy in a good way, right? Like, I think, to be honest, I moved here about 6 years ago. And if you asked me 10, 15 years ago, I was kind of like, I don't know if I'd want to move to Green Bay, right? And knowing what every district here is doing, knowing what the city is doing, to make this place such an amazing place to live and play and work, like, it doesn't surprise me now.
Yeah.
It's amazing that we're number one.
Yeah.
And so proud of it.
I agree with you 100%. I actually did a news interview with a local media station, a couple local affiliates, and they were like, what's your reaction? I was like, you know what? I wanted to be like that big boisterous voice and be like, I was shocked, it was amazing, but I thought about it for a minute and I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm not surprised. We've been on the list for a few years now, kind of climbing up that top 10, and with the improvements that are happening in Titletown and really throughout the city, and the school systems that we have, and the cost of living, and the amenities in downtown and all around the city, it really makes a lot of sense why I would land at number one. And of course, we know people visit before they move, right?
Definitely. And I think also just with the shift in where and how people are living, I think contributed to it, right? Like, I just see tons of reports of people leaving these large urban cities, and they're, heading inward, right? Inland more. And to be honest, like, Green Bay is kind of a hidden gem.
Yeah.
And
not so hidden anymore after
not so hidden. Yeah. Not so hidden, right? Like, but I mean, it was starting that way even when I moved here. It was kind of hard to find housing. It was, and not hard, but it, in terms of, like, you think you'd come here and it would just be easy. And now with the news, it's just like, yep. And I think we knew it coming in because there's so much development happening around in the city in terms of, like, new homes, new apartments,
condos,
all this, coming into play. And so it's kind of like we were building up for this moment.
Yeah, it is. And it is an incredible moment, I know, for our employers, especially our real estate, especially. This is going to be something that we can brag about for a while to come. We all last year we talked about how Green Bay was number 3, and there was a lot of pride in that. And so moving up to number 1 is really cool. What was one of the things that surprised you when you moved to Green Bay?
It's a large city with a very small city feel, or small town feel, not small city, but small town feel. It's funny, you come in here and it's the 3rd largest city in Wisconsin, but it takes 10 to 15 minutes to get anywhere here in Green Bay, right? And that's not typical of what I would consider a 3rd largest city.
Yeah.
The other thing that kind of surprised me is In the world, it's probably 6 degrees of separation. In Green Bay, it's 1 to 2. And that's being generous, right? Like, I've now come to realize that when I go around, I will see people and people will start looking familiar.
Oh, yeah.
More so than, I would get from a large city.
Yeah. And especially in like working in a role that you see so many people, and you're at one of the major like hubs of our community, so you get to meet a lot of new faces, I would imagine.
And the funny part is I still meet tons of new people, and that's great, but it's interesting to see that I do recognize and I do see so many of the same people, and that's not typical in a very large city. I know so it's funny that we come at this from like very different perspectives on our reactions to this news, because I've lived here my entire life. I moved to Milwaukee for about a year and a half when I was in college, and that was the longest I've ever lived outside of the 30-mile radius that is Greater Green Bay. And for me, it's the growth to get here that is really prideful. Because I mean, we were talking about it. We had a travel writer in town that you were actually touring around Titletown this morning. We did a tour of downtown Green Bay, and Jeff, the director there, was talking about some of the history, and man, the memories were rushing back of Port Plaza Mall, which I'm sure you've heard of. Are you a Stranger Things fan? I'm not,
no?
Which I should be, but
okay.
No,
so people who aren't from here are always like, what was Port Plaza Mall like? Like, what was it? And I always tell them it looked like the mall from Stranger Things. Like, that's what it was. When I saw that pop up on that show, I was like, that's the Port Plaza Mall. And the ebbs and flows, from the boom of the 50s and 60s and what was downtown to the kind of lull and what it went into in the 80s and 90s to what it is today. As a lifetime community member, it's really, really prideful of that. So it's cool to be able to finally share that with the rest of the country.
I mean, I've been coming here since 2007.
Oh, that's right. Your husband is from here, correct?
My husband's a born and bred Green Bay guy. Love it. And so he's been taking me here since 2007, visiting family, going to Packers games, literally touring around the city. And I think any new food place that would pop up, we were going to. And it's interesting to see from 2007 till 10 years later, when we moved here in 2017, it felt about the same. Give it 3 years later, and I don't know if it was COVID or whatnot. Like, COVID was a time that everyone just had to reshift and redo everything that they did. But coming out of COVID has been like this big boom, right? And it just feels different. And I don't know if you see it or feel it, but the last like 2-3 years has just felt like this revival of Green Bay, which, yes, third place now into first. Like, it just makes sense. Yeah,
Katie and I were having a very similar conversation. My co-host, after the last time that we recorded last week, we had the new zoo on, and they were talking about like all of the development that they're even doing just out in Swamico, and we were packing up our stuff, and I said, Katie, do you feel like we are just on the edge of something really, really big here? And it's so funny that a week later this comes out, and here we are talking about, is this the thing that really puts Green Bay over the edge? Because I think it is next up for that kind of growing city, and I'm excited for it. I'm here for it.
I'm excited also.
So that was really cool news. We had kind of the microscope pulled away, and we're looking at Green Bay as a whole. Let's start to put a microscope a little bit on your area and where you have your biggest impact and kind of your work in Titletown. Yeah. But first, I think I want to dive into a little bit of get to know Jacki, because you and I actually have known each other.
I know since I moved here.
Yeah, I mean we were
2017.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I've moved roles. You've stayed in the same one, and we've kind of kept in touch here and there, and our paths have crossed. I'm really excited that this is kind of a full circle moment. But it was really cool when you came. I was all the listeners know I talk about it all the time that I was the marketing director for the Salvation Army and Kroc Center. Jacki and I met because you were looking for instructors for Titletown. Yeah. So kind of starting there, what was it like when you moved here? How did you find out about this role, and how did you kind of discover that it was the right fit for your skill set? I know that was a lot of questions.
Very
Take all the
loaded,
time you need.
But everyone finds this to be the most fascinating story, so I'm going to share it.
I love it.
Because everyone loves it. So probably around 2016, 2017, our whole family, so I have 3 kids, just gave birth to a 3rd kid. She was probably a year and a half. And we as a family were just like, we need to be closer to family. It is crazy. We are living in Los Angeles and trying to work 2 full-time jobs. And both my husband and I were really high up in our positions, and it was just a rat race, right? Like, you're living in a large urban city, rat race, high cost of living, everything, 3 young kids, no family support. And we had always been saying, we need to move back. So I'm originally from Texas.
Okay.
And my family's there right now. He obviously, I mentioned, from Green Bay. And literally, I got offered a job. So I was working with an old real estate development company back in Los Angeles, had really kind of built up the community experiential marketing side of that piece of the community that I was working at. And we were starting to branch out into Texas and build 2 larger communities out there. And so the Texas hub had contacted me and wanted me to come out there. And I thought, this is great. We were already thinking of moving. Timing is right. Let's do it. Well, my husband, who didn't want to give up on his dream of moving back to Wisconsin, just said, hey, look, I know this is what you do, but in Green Bay, specifically with the Packers, they're building this place called Titletown. You should email Mark Murphy and see if they're looking for someone. And I'm sitting there, right? Like, I'm living in Los Angeles.
Right.
I've lived in a large urban city for probably 90% of my life. And I'm thinking, who emails the president of a, large NFL team?
Right.
It's like me sitting there saying, I'm going to go contact Jerry Jones, right? Like, please get me a job.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, anyway, I was like, okay, fine, right? Like, I'm not going to say yes to the Texas job. I'll give Green Bay a chance. But if they don't have a job for me, I'm not going to, we're not moving.
Right, yeah. You
So-
got to have means to make a living if you want to move to a new city, for
Yes.
sure.
So my husband and I were chatting, and all of a sudden he's like, okay, if you're ready, let me call my dad right now. And I'm like, okay. So he calls his dad and he's like, hey, Dad, I think Jackie's ready to like reach out to the Packers and see if they have a job at Titletown. Can you get Mark Murphy's email address? And he's like, oh, well, you know what? I'm at lunch with Jerry right now. Sure. Like, hold on. Hey, Jerry, do you have Mark's email address? And he's like, yeah, here it is. And so all of a sudden, my husband's like writing it down. And he's like, there you go. Okay, email Mark and just send him your resume and cover letter.
And you're like, what am I looking at? Like, this
right?
was too fast.
And in my opinion, I'm sitting there like, this is wild, right?
Yeah.
Like, who does this? So I'm like, whatever, sure. So put together my cover letter, my resume, and, kind of do a pitch in the cover letter about like, this is why you need me for Titletown.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to note, like, that is a tough sell, because number one thing, like, you see when somebody applies from like Los Angeles or somewhere out of the area, you're like, okay, is this real? Do they really want to, move here? It's almost like you're a little suspicious of it. So you really must have had to like pitch in there.
Well, so that's funny that you say that, right? So I send my resume to him. He emails me back and he says, you have a very, impressive resume, Jackie. We have some events there might be, or we have some jobs on our website. This one might fit you. And in my mind, I was like, oh, well, okay, fine. He wrote me back, which I thought was amazing within 24 hours.
Yeah.
24 hours later, after he sent that, he goes, I actually really looked at everything and we might have something. Let me send you over to someone else. And Ed Policy is the one that's kind of overseeing all of Titletown.
Yeah.
So long story short is, here comes Mark, says, sure, great, sends me over to Ed. Ed sends me, I fly in over here for an interview, meet a bunch of people. They tell me about Titletown. everything. And literally, I'm at this point where I'm like, I need to figure out if we're moving to Texas or if we're moving to Green Bay.
Yeah.
Right. And so at the interview, I said, I hate to do this, but I need to know by Monday. So go on this interview in Green Bay, met everyone. They talked about Titletown, what the vision, everything. And I said, that's what I do right now. And that Monday, I get a phone call from Ed, and he's like, we'd like to offer you the job. And next thing you know, I hang up, I call, my husband, and I'm like, looks like we're moving to Green Bay. And we had to call like our moving company. So I know we gave you Texas, but we're really actually moving to Green Bay.
Wow, you had the movers locked in and everything for Texas.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Everything was locked in. We knew, like, my last day at my job was August 1st. We knew that we were going to be out and everything packed up, and it was like, okay, well, we're moving the other direction.
Wow, because when you and I first, as we've gotten to know each other and started to chat, I knew that you were considering Texas or Green Bay. I never knew that it was like that close.
Yes.
That's crazy.
So,
like calling the movers and being like, change of destination.
So we're actually going someplace else.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a whirlwind, and we always said that if we were going to move, we're going to take a good week and a half to like just travel the country. So we did that prior to coming to Green Bay, saw a lot of the different states that I don't think we would have ever seen, ended up here, and it was a whirlwind. Coming into this role, this job, and kind of having Titletown officially open and launch on September 15th, 2017. So that is like, it literally was, I was hired in July.
Yeah.
But didn't actually make it into the offices until maybe mid-August. So
a month after you got your first day in the office.
Yes. A month after. So because I put in my notice at my old job August 1st, and I just figured, we'll take our time getting there. And I think it was August 22nd maybe is my first day, and then we were opening a month later. That's officially crazy. Opening the development a month later. So it was a whirlwind of getting everything up and running and prepped and ready, and when we met, it was just,
it was fast.
Remember,
it was because we had no idea. Like, we obviously had heard the news about Titletown, and the vision of the programming and things like that, but we didn't really know how we could fit in. And then everything just moved so quickly, and next thing we know, we're sending out an email to all of our instructors, availability to go and do this. And we're taking a construction tour with our fitness leader to figure out where we could do classes and all this stuff. And that was a fast moving process. I can't imagine how everything else was for you.
It was a wild ride. But going back to the whole Mark thing, the funny part about it is, he actually said I emailed his, the Mark Takes 5. Where he has an inbox.
Oh, the inbox.
And he answers questions.
Yeah,
and
he still does
apparently,
that.
I think I emailed that.
So it could ended up in his newsletter.
He ended up saying, that's one of the, he's gotten job requests before. He goes, but that was one of the first. And someone said, like, so anyone can, email you there and you'll hire him. He's like, well, no,
let's press the brakes on that one. But
no, this was a unique situation. So selling the idea, because I think, now taking into kind of how I had to sell myself, it aligned with what they were looking for, which made sense. So, I guess starting in and rolling into what Titletown does, like the vision is, Packers are a community-owned team. We're not there without the community, right? The city, the community support. And having this opportunity to, have this land that's right beside Lambeau Field, that's super special. But really the intention for the Packers to do what they did was really give back to the community, and that's what I loved about it.
That's awesome.
When I met with Mark and Ed and they were kind of telling me their vision for what Titletown is, it really was all about the community. And so what we do in Titletown. So like, I guess rolling
before
into
we
that.
before
Go
we
ahead.
head into that, I just want to talk a little bit more about your background, because
Oh yeah.
yesterday you said something on our tour that was fascinating to me, and I like made a mental note. I was like, I
Oh.
got to ask Jackie about this.
Okay.
You mentioned like the process of development and how much you loved that part of it, and how much you loved the time that the organization was taking to make sure this development was right. How did you get into real estate development, and what are some of the things that are just like bring you that passion, not just to Titletown, but that development process as a whole? Because I find it really fascinating as well.
So I did not go to school for real estate development. I kind of stumbled upon that. I'm beginning to realize I stumble upon a lot of the things that I do. I was actually, I got my master's in counseling psychology.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I had every intention of being, a psychologist, having my own private practice and, kind of doing that. Realize, wow, I got burnt out quick. And then 2008, that whole recession.
Yeah, I was graduating
hit.
College.
Yes. I was in a job, and it was a state-funded job.
Okay.
And it was not
in
a
the
good
psychology
situation.
counseling space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I left that job, and it's due to my husband that I ended up in real estate development. So he actually was in real estate development. He was part of the finance team for the company that he worked at. And when I left my job, he's like, you know what? You don't know what you want to do. You're super stressed. I can't handle this right now.
Right. Your spouse can tell that on you immediately.
Yeah. So he said, why don't you just work with Jenny? She was at the time the VP of finance and the controller of his real estate development company. She was looking just for like an EA.
Right.
And I was like, that's perfect. Like, low key, as long as they're going to pay me what I was making, I don't care. Right. Like, I just need to get out of the situation I was in.
Right.
So long story short, it ended up being 4 years of like on-campus training, right? College, right? So here I am. I enter this like real estate development company. It's a small privately funded company, and we were just trying to coast through the recession because the reason why we were in a recession was housing. So we were just trying to coast through. But due to that, whenever a recession happens and companies downsize, you all of a sudden become a jack of all trades. And that's what I had become. I was doing contracts for infrastructure. I was working on some environmental projects. I was doing basic marketing because you're not marketing a whole lot during a recession, but you still need to make it afloat, keep it afloat. I was doing reconciliations, some accounting related stuff. So literally every piece of, the process in real estate, I learned hands-on. 4 years later, 5 maybe, we got bought out by a very large home building company / real estate development company. And at that time, that's when a president and HR comes in and they determine, should we keep you or should we not? Right?
Yeah.
Met with them. They met with everyone in the company, and they kept me, and they literally said, what do you want to do?
Oh,
out
wow.
of everything that you've done, because you're kind of
you've been in every department for the past 5 years, right?
And there was no, movement during the recession. It was just kind of like, just be happy you have a job, right? So anyway, ended up, and I said, I really love the community side of things. That it just is so much fun, planning events, creating kind of a community, really working with the community to figure out how can you make this the best place to live, working on that experiential side of marketing. Because if people are happy, they're your best marketers, right? You know that.
Oh, for sure.
So I loved creating experiences, and they're like, perfect. That's what you get to do. So I was the director of experience within our marketing department, and that's kind of where I ended up. So in real estate development, I guess circling back since I
Yeah.
gave you more of my background.
No, I love it.
But
that's great.
in real estate development, the whole purpose is you buy up land, you build it for cheap, and then you sell it for premium cost.
Yeah.
And my role in that whole piece is you build it up from the experiential side. So as you build, you market, and you have traditional marketing means, and then you have the experience side.
Mm-hmm.
So my job was to create this whole experience so that when it starts selling, you're getting the top dollar for price per square foot for any of the stuff that you're selling,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's, retail space, housing, any of that stuff. So that was my job. And it's interesting because you get specific timelines for sale, right? Like, how much you need to absorb in terms of like home sales, of when you want things to be leased out, all of this stuff, right? Huge timelines because they're on to their next project.
Right.
Their
So
next
that you
land
have
acquisition.
this window to get this done,
Yes.
and then I'm moving on to this one, and then you're going to do the
Correct.
same thing at that one. Right.
So there's timelines for everything. And I literally, like, moving here and working with the Packers, you have to throw that out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Because their whole job, or not job, but their whole purpose and vision for acquiring Titletown and the land there was not to hurry, quick, build, and sell.
Yeah.
Their intention is, we're doing this for future generations, right? The other part of the vision was economic expansion. And that is to come from Titletown, specifically Titletown Tech, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so here you have 45 acres, which traditionally in any real estate development company, they could probably build that out in 5 years or less. Right?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
For us, we're at year 5, almost 6 at this point.
Yeah.
And we still have large parcels of land that still need to be developed. But the reason they're not developed is we're very intentional,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're trying to figure out what's best for the community because it's a long-term asset. It's a long-term development that we're going to hold, and we want to make sure that it's right for what the community needs.
I love that phased approach like that, because it gives you time to really, because you can have a vision and you can have a plan and an expected impact in what it's going to do and how it's going to change a community, right? But so many times, and even in my work, this happens a lot. So many times there's these side things that you would have been like, I would have never expected. We were talking about this yesterday. I would have never expected for the hill to become something kids race down.
Yes.
Right. And I know that's minor, but on a larger scale, that makes you, be able to pivot and say, okay, we didn't know that this was going to be one of the biggest things. Now, how do we leverage that into the next phase of this development, and not having to like abide by those, like, this is what we're doing, and then moving on is really, really beneficial, not only to that district, but this community as a whole.
Yeah. And, kind of leveraging that, I mean, what we build is all about quality.
Mm-hmm.
This is to last generations on down. I mean, football team itself is over 100 years old, right? And one of the things that I think people say specifically about Lambeau Field, right? I mean, obviously that's not 100 years, but it's what?
We're getting
70?
there. Yeah,
58?
70?
It's 70.
Yeah.
Or 65, I guess.
Yeah.
65, 70 years old. And if you look at other stadiums that could be even half that age,
mm-hmm.
it doesn't look like Lambeau.
No, not even close.
Yeah, and I hear this from other,
there's stadiums in the NFL that are half the age of what Lambeau is, and they've been demolished and replaced already.
Yes. And so what we do is we ensure that everything that we build has our quality, our excellence,
mm-hmm.
our standards, kind of attached to it. And that's kind of what Titletown is. We're very intentional. We're intentional in what we do. And we want to make sure that what we do is for generations to come, right? For our community.
Right.
So
I'll tell you what, you talk about the generations thing, and this can kind of lead us into our next topic. I've shared this with you many times now. I grew up, which would be a block away from where I suppose it would be the football field. I drove by my old house and I tried to look and see where I was exactly in the Titletown Park layout, and I believe we're just a block and a half behind like to the football field in the residential area. To be able to take my kids to that area is so cool for me, because that was a Kmart and a crappy pawn shop.
God, yes.
And a movie theater and a dive bar. And you know, it was never a place that I really would be like, I'm excited to take my kids there, where I can share a little bit of my childhood with them. And like, that is just such a cool thing to me, to be able to stand on that football field and be like, Dad grew up right there. And now knowing that they're going to have this to share with their kids and so on is really, really, really special for what you guys do for this community. So,
that just gave me chills. Just because I think that, you know, I think those are things that people take for granted in large urban cities.
Yes.
And that's, I think, the pride of Green Bay that, you know, I've come to appreciate and realize like is so strong about this area.
Mm-hmm.
Going on to the number one.
Right.
But,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think that's the whole goal and purpose long term, right? Economic expansion, obviously, from a job standpoint, from
a tourism standpoint,
right? Yeah. Like all of that, but really like in our roots and who we are and who we, right? Our wait list for tickets, for
I'm almost
anything.
there.
Are you?
I am. My dad signed me up Valentine's Day, 1988. The day after my birthday.
What's your number?
My number last year was 1919.
Ooh, that's pretty impressive.
I know.
That's pretty impressive.
I know. I saved the card. I saved the card because I was like, that's wild.
So you're right around like just a few years out.
Yeah, when it's a couple hundred a year kind of transition
give
out.
Or take. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll be there. I'm
Very
hoping
soon.
by maybe my 40th birthday. I'm 35.
Good birthday celebration.
You know, I think that would be good.
Yeah.
So I've been wanting to ask you this. How would you describe Titletown to someone who's never heard of it?
Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm so ingrained in this, and it's so hard for me to look at it in that sense.
Yeah.
But oh gosh. I should know this.
No,
but I know Titletown based on like, you know, I can give you the whole marketing spiel of things, but if I were to take myself out of my role and be a person, like, it's just a fun community park that you can come into and just enjoy for hours on end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess like when I think about my family and us going there, every time I say, okay, we're just going to quickly run into Titletown, right? Like, go play in the playground, but we have to leave in an hour. Yeah. It's like 3 hours later. Yeah. Right?
You're starving.
Yes. And we're like, okay, let's just go over here and eat. Yeah. And next thing you know, we're adding in another 2 hours. Right. And it's funny. My marketing spiel, 45-acre mixed-use development just west of Lambeau Field. It's, you know, the best hub for coming to play, eat, work, live, right? For me, it's just home.
Right.
It's
awesome.
home. It's I work there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it also just feels like home whenever our family goes there.
Yeah.
And it's a sense of pride that I have, not only because I've, you know, been a part of it since its opening, but it does speak to, I think, Green Bay, right? You look across the street and you see the history that's there, and you look into Titletown and it's a bit of our future.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And
I think,
okay, so maybe that's how I would describe it.
Yeah. I think that's a really great description, actually.
Yeah. I think that's probably how I would describe it, because I think, you know, my kids, they have a lot of respect for Lambeau Field, and they understand that a lot coming from my husband, you know, and his family, generations on end, that live here. But for us who, you know, we're transplants, at least I'll say my, me and the kids, right? We're all transplants in a sense, because we weren't born and raised here.
Yeah.
They are being raised, but that's probably how I'd describe it.
Cool. That's really, I love that description, actually, because I do believe that, you know, all of these districts that we're talking to, what's going on with development on Broadway. We were talking about the cannery yesterday.
So amazing.
I know, so cool. We were talking. We had Brooke on Broadway. It was 2 days before they were making that announcement, and she didn't spill the beans on my show. I was so mad.
I wouldn't have spilled the beans either. Come on.
I know.
You're talking to marketing people. Would you have spilled the beans?
Probably not.
Yes. Thank you.
Very true. Very true. I guess I didn't look at it from that perspective. But like these districts all over are bringing so much to the future. And Titletown is going to be a big part of that. But like I had mentioned, a lot of what we've been doing with the districts is looking forward to summer because it is one of the busiest times. One thing people are always surprised of when they talk about like, tourism in Green Bay and the data that we collect. The visitation numbers in summer and winter are actually very similar because we do have a lot to do.
I do know that.
And then, yes, you would. But summer does get the excitement because, it's getting warmer. People can get outside and everyone wants to know what's going on. So I was hoping we could just kind of run through what Titletown is going to look like this summer. Sound good?
Yes.
Cool. So let's start with the big one that was just announced. Tell us who's coming and what we can expect for the first concert, the first of the concert series this year.
So I'm going to tee things up.
Okay, I like it.
Just because for those that don't know about Titletown, we look at things from a very seasonal basis. So we have 5 seasons, right? You have spring, summer, fall, winter, and football.
Of course.
Our 2 biggest, obviously football being big, but our 2 biggest within Titletown is actually summer and winter. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about the numbers being similar, I do agree because I see it as well.
Right.
Just in terms of like traffic that come through, everything. So for summer is just like everyone is ready to put their summer dresses on, their shorts, their, t-shirts, flip-flops, everything. And our summer officially kicks off on June 3rd. It was a first Saturday after Memorial Day. And this year for our Summer Fun Day Showcase presented by Ticketmaster.
Shout out Ticketmaster.
Shout out to Ticketmaster. We literally do a day-long event, right? We just have all these things smaller programs that we introduce throughout the day that really encompass and encapsulate who Titletown is during the summer, but we always kick it off with a very large concert. And this year, it's Flo Rida.
I love it. The millennial in me is so excited.
Oh my God.
Apple bottom
jeans. Boots with the fur. Yes.
Yeah, of course.
So we're super excited to welcome him. Last year was our first year having kind of a big, huge headliner like this.
That was insane.
With Jason Derulo.
That was so cool to see the crowds up on the hill.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Crowds in front of the stage.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing because here we are, we're kind of shooting for 15,000, for Jason, mm-hmm. and final numbers came in and it was closer to 32,000 that were there for the concert. So it was huge.
That's crazy.
It was huge.
That's like more than a third of the stadium.
Yes. Yes. Right outside of Lambeau Field in Titletown. And so we were very intentional about who we wanted to have come out for this summer. Mm-hmm. And I think he's just going to kill it.
I think so
on
too.
Stage. Like
I've heard that his shows are incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have not been to one, but I was talking with a friend that had gone and seen him in a larger city back in the day when he was, when everything was like really hot for him, like the song had just dropped that we were just referencing and all that. He said it was like nonstop. He would just perform, and it was like just hit after hit after hit. So
yeah,
I'm really excited. It'll be fun, and I get to show my kids my music.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, it's funny because my kids actually do know his music.
Yeah.
I don't think. But they know him because of, sadly to say, social media.
Yep.
Right? So
exactly.
Like they start seeing all of these little videos of cute dogs. That's what they like to look at.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's attached to one of his songs. And so they're very familiar with his music without knowing who he is.
That's awesome. They're going to be that. I've had that happen actually with my kids too. Like a song will come on the radio and they'll be like, "Oh, that's from TikTok." I'm
Oh
like,
my God. Yes.
no, it's not. Stop it.
No, it was not TikTok.
Right. Let me educate you.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So that kicks off summer.
So that kicks off summer.
But we were talking yesterday as well. I mean, there's something to do in Titletown every single day.
Yeah. So back to the vision. The
Yes.
vision of Titletown, give back to the community, economic expansion, right? But one of the big things, and you probably heard this also just growing up, when people would say, oh, there's nothing to do in Green Bay.
They're not trying.
Yes, they're not trying to find it, right?
Right.
And that's what I learned. They want to be hand delivered this stuff. And I think as generations kind of get older, they're noticing, or younger, I should say,
Yeah.
they're noticing that even more.
Right.
Well, so the intent of Titletown was, we know 8 to 10 days out of the year, guaranteed we'll have a ton of people coming to town, right? For game day. We
Yep.
all know this.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens on the 355 days out of the year?
Mm-hmm.
So the intent of Titletown was to program every single day so people will stop saying there's nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we come into all these programs. So when I first came here, they said, program it. We just want to see something happening and people can come and do things. And there's a bit of a strategy to figuring that whole thing out, right? Like you're sitting there thinking, okay, what do we do? And so I had to really pay attention to the community. What was kind of their way of like doing things? I realized immediately this community is super routine based.
Yes.
They know
Yeah.
what they're doing Monday through Sunday.
Yeah. Friday night, they know where they're going to be for their fish fry, what
Yes.
old fashioned they're going to get.
Completely.
Yeah.
Right? Where other cities are not like that
Yeah.
in that sense, right? It's a new thing every time. So in developing programs, it's all about creating routines and like infiltrating kind of the routines that they
Right.
already have set. So
Oh, I like that.
So we literally had planned programming to say, like, when do people actually work out? When do people actually do this?
Mhm.
When do they do this? Looking at schedules for kids, looking at schedules for families, for adults, for, all of the like young adults, young professionals, and literally creating programming based on that. So summer itself, we have literally 3 to 7 programs happening every single day in the summer. And this is ranging from all fitness classes. We do yoga. That's popular. It's easy, very approachable. Everyone loves it. We have yoga. We have Zumba. We have
There were so many people at Zumba last night.
oh my gosh, yes, Zumba.
Wow.
And I mean, even Mark said, he was like, wow, it's pretty busy.
Yeah.
And like, yep, it's just starting, right?
Yeah,
Like
that was so cool because we were on the other side of the park and you were like, yeah, 30, 40 people.
it was like 50 or 60.
We walked up. He's like, that's not 30 or 40 people.
I know. It's like 50 or 60. It's,
yeah, it was really cool.
And that's amazing. Like as soon as the weather starts getting better, we just start seeing numbers go up, right? Like, and so we have all these great fitness classes, but then we also do things like ballroom dancing, which everyone
Really?
says.
I'm learning things. I didn't know that was there.
Everyone's
Wow.
like, who would want to do ballroom dancing? Well, these 60 or 70 couples or people, that come out and do ballroom dancing. We have very approachable things like giant games. You want to play large versions of, Connect Four, of
Jenga.
Jenga.
Yes.
That's right.
Love Jenga.
Beer pong without the beer.
Yeah.
Things like that.
I don't
right?
know. They need to rebrand that because that is like, I know people are playing it like with water now, and it's like a fun game.
Yes.
To play, but
kids just love playing it. Like,
you
I don't
throw a
know.
ball in any cylinder.
Yes.
Kids will love it.
Totally.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have giant games, and we have art classes, but art classes aren't just for kids.
Mhm.
We also have like professional artists coming out, showing their craft, what they do. We have community-based art, like Summer Fun Day Showcase, where we're going to have a large mural out there that people can paint, and it's going to live in Titletown.
Oh, I love
So
that.
lots of like community-based things that I think anyone can enjoy. And then we have social things. So right now we're finishing up our kickball league,
Mhm.
but other social things, we have trivia during our night market. We have dance socials. So like if you're coming to our ballroom dance classes or line dancing classes, like we'll just have like a Friday night where you can show off your skills and dance with other people freely. So just fun activities.
Where do you
that
get
just
the
keep
inspiration for all of these activities? Like there's just like so much cool stuff. How do you come up with it all?
I mean, it's a joint effort. Our team all collaborates. And a lot is just what I've seen through the years. Obviously being in some sort of experiential, can I not talk today? Marketing.
Not a good day to
not a good day to talk. Not a good day. Is that weird that we're doing a podcast?
It's all right.
But you just start seeing all of these different things, and it just has my mind just rolling, right, with different ideas. And then, I think everyone on the team comes with different points of view and different experiences. So we just start throwing things out there.
Must be a fun brainstorming session.
It is so much fun. It's one of my favorite
thrown
things.
On the wall, like all the ideas connecting. Yep. Yeah, very
we
cool.
literally throw all these things and then we say, who can do it?
Yeah.
Who can do it for us?
Right. Now, how do we pull this off?
Yeah, pretty much. So, that's kind of our whole entire summer, and based on things that we are seeing, like in terms of needs in the community in which programming kind of lacks for those specific groups. So, we have a sports club, kids sports club, and we have people from, I think it's the Fox Valley Autism Treatment Group, and they come out and they introduce kids of all abilities to come out and do sports, which is great. So typically I've known families with kids with autism that don't necessarily like coming out and participating in programs because it might not work for them. Well, we have programs for them now. We are finishing up kind of a sign and play program, which is for kids with who might be deaf and hard of hearing.
That's so cool.
So we have a lot of things like that. We have an art wellness class, which really focuses on mental health. So working through grief through art. So, taking in some of these different groups that I think traditionally have never had programming, free and available programming to them. We're now offering it. And what I'm super excited about, because this month is AAPI month. So today in Titletown, we have our AAPI celebration. And
really?
Yep.
Oh.
It is honestly going to be amazing.
Today as in Wednesday?
Today, Wednesday.
Shoot, this will be out tomorrow.
So hopefully you guys came out and saw it.
Sorry
but no, totally fine. But, so those are some of the things that we do here in Titletown. But summer itself is amazing just because there's so much access to it.
Yeah.
Definitely. And kids are off of school. People kind of don't want to have all of, that scheduled routine, and now they can create their routine off of the programs that we create.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun.
I know my wife's a teacher. And so she's on the calendar always looking for what can I bring the kids? Are we going to the trampoline park today?
Yes.
Are we going to Titletown today? And in the near future, I hope they would choose Titletown even more than they already do, because we will be neighbors there and they could come visit me at work.
I'm very excited. They're just like a short walk over to your office.
Yeah, it's gonna be wonderful. And you don't even there's not even a really super busy street, because you just kind of gotta go around the gas station a little bit there on Brookwood. Yeah,
just take Brookwood.
I know, I'm so excited for it. So let's we're running a little bit low on time, so can I rapid fire some things over to you? Thursday, or the farmers markets. We talked a little bit about those. Are they coming back? Anything new we can expect this year?
So our night market.
Sorry.
No.
Yep.
Night market presented by Broadway Automotive. They are coming back Thursdays, and more food trucks, more opportunities for socializing. We have some new beverages that are coming up on top of Aaron's Hill. We've gotten into this whole frozen cocktail thing. I love my frosés.
Yeah, that's becoming a whole thing.
Things like that. So new take on the
it's
beverages
because we grew up
top.
with the slushy machines.
Oh my gosh.
It's why we like charcuterie boards, is Lunchables, and we like the frozen cocktails because of the slushy machine.
Well, now these are kind of an elevated slushy,
yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
I kind of want the frosé, like, let's frosé all day. Come on.
Yeah, I love that. I love it.
Frosé all day. But we have frosé. We'll probably have some Bellinis. We might have some frozen old fashions. So just fun things that, you know, we didn't have previously. Mm-hmm. That's coming up. Lots of food trucks I mentioned. Great vendors. We've had an amazing response to, you know, night market vendors. So it's going to be a fun vibe.
Love it.
And then, of course, with our night market, live music. So it's just going to be a fun time to spend your Thursday.
That reminded me, Unplugged as well.
So Unplugged's happening now.
Yeah, and that'll be happening today because it's Thursday.
Yes,
when
today,
this comes
Thursday.
Out. Yes.
Sorry. So Unplugged is at 5:30 over at the Grand Stairs in Titletown. And food truck, you mentioned charcuterie. We have great charcuterie boards as as some of the cocktails that I mentioned. We have a rotation of cocktails. So I don't know what's happening for tomorrow, but last week we had actually the frozen old fashioned. The week before we had the Bellinis.
It's shaping up for great weather for you tomorrow or today.
Yes. So, so that's coming, and it's a great like Thursday afternoon as we're approaching summer, because I don't know about you, my kids are counting down.
Oh, I had told my kids there's only 2 Mondays left at the beginning of this week. I was like, let's just get through this. Only 2 Mondays left.
Yes. Well, it's exact days for my crew. Yeah. So, you know, knowing that that's happening, we're literally getting our summer kind of set, and a lot is Titletown.
Of course.
For the kids. Other things that are coming this summer, so rapid fire, right? We have our movies at Titletown.
I was just going to ask about the movies. Nice. They are coming back.
Movies at Titletown are coming back. And so big change for us is we've changed their screens. So we can actually start our movies a little bit earlier versus waiting until sunset. So 2 movies in June, 2 in July, and 2 in August.
Have you picked the titles yet, or is that going to happen?
We internally have. It hasn't been announced yet. So Titletown.com will have all the details.
Mario.
What?
I'm looking for your reaction. Mario? Okay.
So.
All right.
I
won't put you on the spot anymore. Gosh. Let's move on.
Mr. Marketing, you should know this.
Oh, man.
So other things, let's see. Titletown Beats. So we love our live music, right? Like what defines Green Bay, everything, live music. So we have 1 in July and 1 in August. Not as big as Flo Rida, but big up and coming artists.
I love it. And it's original, or kind of a mix of original artist and cover, or any cover at all?
No, it's not cover. It's like,
love that.
Yes. So not as big as Flo, but not too up and coming. People would have heard of these individuals.
It's a great way to see those up and coming artists before they're bigger and playing Nashville or New York or LA or stuff like that. So
so we have that coming July and August. And then, obviously, as with everything, we have when Family Night happens here at Lambeau Field, we host Family Fest. So we turn our whole park into the biggest pre-game for those going to Family Night. So Family Fest is happening. Once that gets announced, date to be determined. And then obviously Titletown Game Day Live.
The regular schedule came out, but the preseason and Family Night did not yet, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we can watch the socials and Titletown.com for info on the pregame party for Family Night.
Exactly.
I love Family Night. I always brought my kids. They're old enough now where we go to games, so we don't really do the Family Night as much. But we will definitely check out the pregame party at Titletown for sure. You can see the fireworks from there probably too at the end, right?
Yes. And the fireworks at Family Night is literally the best.
So cool. And then the laser show inside.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Super cool. And then all the players come out and they're watching from the field. It's quite the experience.
It's also funny hearing other teams say, wait a minute, this is a practice. Literally, no one else does it but us. So it's amazing to see that we can actually fill a stadium for a practice.
That's insane. What else haven't we touched on that's coming this summer? I know you had your list printed out here.
I have my list, but yeah, I mean, we just have some really amazing programs, new ones. You know, if you're into fitness, we have bar coming. We have we found a niche group of kids who are speed cubers. So if you want to learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube, we're going to have a cubing club.
No way.
Yeah. So just, they're really
like
fun.
The super. Like,
yes. So I will have to say, one of the kids that's going to be in there along with some of his friends had an in, meaning my son. So my son is going to be one of the speed cubers trying to teach others how to solve a Rubik's Cube.
You know what? This is horrible. I don't know how to do it.
I don't either. Do you know how much? Like, he tries to tell me there's apparently an algorithm how to do it.
That's what everyone says.
And my brain just doesn't work that way.
Same.
I will just watch him. And so
that's so cool.
It's amazing to see how quickly he can solve a Rubik's Cube. His fastest time for doing what they call a 3x3 is 13 seconds. 13 seconds. The world record's like 3 or something.
13 seconds?
Yes, he can do it in 13 seconds. On average, it could be 20-ish, but yes. So anyway, that's one of the new programs coming to Titletown is we're just going to introduce that.
That's crazy. I think because I think that's something that is so unique. And like, for me, I'm like, yeah, I want to go find that out. Like, I have no idea how. Like, that's super cool.
Yes. So,
all right.
But yeah, I want to learn everything about Titletown, obviously our website, titletown.com, and then social media pages. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we do have a TikTok account, so you can find us all there.
We've had some fun collabs with you guys on TikTok accounts. It's been fun. It
has, yeah. And right now, if you check our social media, we have some meet and greet passes for a Summer Fun Day Showcase presented by Ticketmaster, but we have some meet and greet to meet the one and only Flo Rida.
Am I eligible or no?
You are not related to anyone, right?
Right.
So enter your name in there, and who knows, you might be a winner.
I may enter my wife's name as well.
Yes, we're giving out 8 sets.
Nice.
So each one has 2 passes, so it's for you and a friend.
What's the cutoff for entry for that?
I want to say May 24th.
Okay, so you got a few more days.
You have a few more days, so you can.
Those are going to be a hot item.
Mm-hmm.
Those are going to be a hot item. So make sure to get your entry in.
Yes.
Anything else that we didn't touch on that you wanted to cover?
No, it's been great being on here and chatting with you about
everything.
It's fun,
right?
Yeah,
it's super fun. I'm so glad we were able to make this happen. It was great to be able to catch up to you again. I'll do my traditional podcast sign off. I'll take Katie's part for her. Katie, if you're listening, we miss you. Follow us on the socials at Discover Green Bay. We share a ton of stuff from Titletown. We actually do a ton of collabs with the Titletown people. Being right in their neighborhood, it's quick and easy for us to hop over and get some content and work with you guys. So keep an eye out for that at Discover Green Bay on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest. At Discover GRNBAY on Twitter. Stupid character limits.
Don't you hate that?
I know. Oh, got me. And of course, as I always remind you, don't forget to check out Katie's handiwork on the blog, greenbay.com/blog. Tons of itineraries, tons of listicles out there to plan your trip to Green Bay and to Titletown, of course. So, Jacki, once again, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's much appreciated. I would love to have you back sometime in like fall, winter, so we can look forward to the winter season. Sound good?
There's tons of stuff happening, but yeah, I'd love to be here.
Cool. I love it.
Nick.
Thank you so much. And remember, as always, get out there and discover Green Bay. Have a good day, y'all.